The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season has been so active we have exhausted our name list and we are onto the Greek alphabet. Good evening, I'm Mike Naso on this Friday afternoon with the latest on the tropics. It's September 18th. We have never reached the Greeks this early. We did it one time before in 2005, but that was in October. We're only in mid-September, and you can see we are already making our way through. We are now on Tropical Storm Beta, which is a threat to the Gulf Coast, and our next name will be Gamma. So I don't know how far down the list we're going to get. In 2005, we got to Zeta or Eta. But that was a historic season. Of course, there were years in the past, way before we named them, that we would have hit the Greeks. And also, now we spot storms a lot better. So we would see this name list way more often. But again, if we have a hurricane from this list that needs to be retired, we don't know if they're going to call it, Gamma 2020, or if they're going to just come up with an alternative list of names we could replace and not use the Greeks. Who knows? This is 2020. Everything's off the table. But we'll see how far down the name list we get. I mean, if we get Hurricane Kappa or Hurricane Pi or Hurricane Xi or Hurricane Omega, I mean, come on. Forget about it. Here's the Atlantic Basin. Here's our systems from left to right. We have Tropical Storm Beta here in the Gulf of Mexico, forecast to be a hurricane, and it is a threat to the northwest Gulf Coast. There's what's left of our devastating Hurricane Sally pooling on off. There's our major Hurricane Teddy. We now have tropical storm advisories for Bermuda, and if you're in Nova Scotia, watch it very carefully. We have another tropical storm from that wave. This is Wilfred, expected to strengthen a little but generally move out to sea. We have what's left of Paulette, which could come back near the Azores. Remember Paulette? We thought it was gone. Looped around, could come back. And then this is Alpha, which just hit Portugal, and we got another wave leaving Africa. So again, we knew this was going to be a busy year. It's a hyperactive season, and let's get right to it. Whew, crazy. Here's Tropical Storm Beta as of 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. The NOAA buoys and the satellite indicate that it's reached 40 miles per hour. It's at 24.3 north, 93.1 west. It's moving, best we could figure, north-northeast at 9. There's a little upper-level trough here over Texas and Mexico, and that's steering the storm to the northeast. It should eventually slow down, stop, have a ridge of high pressure, clockwise upper ridge, build into its north, and that should push it on off towards the west-northwest, and it should become a hurricane by Monday. But as it nears the Texas coastline, it looks like that's going to break down and steering currents are going to collapse, and it's going to kind of ride the coastline of Texas here by Wednesday, still offshore. But again, there is uncertainty. It could move further northeast. It could end up making landfall. It could not become a hurricane. It could make landfall as a hurricane. We just don't know. Nevertheless, you can see the computer models are starting to get in a little better agreement of something up, left, up, right. Something like that. So that would be a classic dragged along by a trough, ridge rebuilds, and then pulls along back to the northeast. But again, we just don't know yet, and everybody's going to have to watch it very, very carefully. You can see here's the visible satellite imagery. As Jack Bevan and the guys at the Hurricane Center continue their hard work, they're writing these discussions, and the discussion as of 5 p.m. on Beta, Jack says that it is elongated. It's an elongated circulation. So again, it isn't that favorable. You can see it does have wind shear coming in. However, as that ridging rebuilds to the north, as Jack Bevan notes, it will be a beta blocker. I got that pun. They've been using a lot of puns lately. I think we're all getting burned out this year. As that ridging builds in, the environment's going to get much better, at least compared to right now, and that should allow our system to become a hurricane as it moves close to Texas. So again, a hurricane right off the Texas coast is not what we want. So we're going to watch this very carefully. You can see the radar right now on the Gulf Coast. We don't want any more rainfall, obviously, in our Sally-ravaged areas and our Laura-ravaged areas. Hopefully this is not a beta-ravaging storm, but we'll wait and see. You can see some heavy squalls here off the coastline of South Texas, so there ain't going to be no fishing for redfish tonight. You can see some thunderstorms here in Florida as well as the summer heat begins to feel more fall-like across the United States. Here's the key messages for Beta as of 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Number 1, Beta is expected to strengthen and possibly become a hurricane, moving very slowly over the western Gulf the next few days. Number 2, there is an increasing risk of heavy rainfall and flooding from the northwest Gulf Coast Sunday through at least the middle of next week, as Beta is forecast to move slowly towards and along or offshore, kind of meander here. And you got to listen to your local weather offices. And number 3, while it is too early to determine what areas could see direct wind and storm surge from Beta, interest throughout the western Gulf of Mexico should closely monitor the progress of this system. Again, this hurricane season, we've already had Hurricane Hannah, Hurricane Isaias, Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Sally. And remember, Cristobal was a tropical storm, could have been a hurricane, and Marco was a hurricane that dissipated. So we could have even had 6 hurricanes hit America instead of 4. So if anything, we've been lucky. Think of that. So we'll watch Beta very carefully. Hurricane Teddy, a disastrously strong major hurricane, it's weakened a bit down to a Category 3, 125. It's at 23.1 north, 57.0 west. We have the advisory out for Bermuda because by Monday morning, Hurricane Teddy is going to be very close. Right now, we're thinking it's going to miss it to the east. But the swells and the high seas are going to impact for sure. Right now, Teddy is moving northwest at 14 miles per hour. You can see it is expected to be very close to Nova Scotia and likely make landfall or have some kind of impact, whether or not it's still tropical or it's an extratropical system. It could still have hurricane conditions and slam in. Remember Hurricane Juan back in 03, 100 miles an hour? You don't want that situation. There's the visible satellite imagery as the sun goes down. Look at that thunderstorm popping there in the northern eye wall. It does appear, based on the Air Force and all that, to be undergoing a eye wall replacement cycle. So there's going to be a new eye popping out. That's why it's weakened a bit. Nevertheless, you do not want to mess with this hurricane. Teddy is a beast. Check this out. Look at that. Look at that. There are the Caribbean islands. There's Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Bahamas. There's what's left of Sally dragging off the east coast. Bermuda is right to the top here, and you can see just a beautiful hurricane, a massive, terrific-looking hurricane. The great thing about it is that it's far out at sea, not affecting anybody, but it might in the future, so we're going to watch it. Wilfred, the last name on the list, developed from that tropical wave we were watching. It could strengthen a bit, but it's not expected to become a hurricane. It should dissipate by Monday. Wilfred's at 12.5 north, 34.4 west if you're plotting, moving west-northwest at 18. And you can see the forecast track here does generally keep it out over open waters and weakening. We also have our subtropical storm Alpha, the first name of the Greek alphabet. This is as of 5 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. Greenwich time, which is, I believe, London time zone. This thing's made landfall in Portugal. It's at 40.4 north, 8.4 west. You're not going to see a map of Spain and Portugal on my hurricane updates very often. It's moving northeast at 17 very quickly. It should dissipate before it gets to France. This is France right here, and just an amazing system there. Here's the radar imagery. Look at the little curly Q as Alpha made landfall. Watch this. I'm going to put it into motion. Watch as it comes ashore right there. That is a landfall of a subtropical storm over the coastline of Portugal. You can see it is forecast to continue to move inland and not be much as it moves into France. Hopefully it doesn't make it to Germany and Russia. I mean, these systems this year, crazy, crazy stuff. So in the final analysis, we have Beta, forecast to be a hurricane here in the Gulf of Mexico. We have what's left of Sally pulling on out. We have a major Hurricane Teddy, a threat to Bermuda and Nova Scotia. We have Wilfred, the last name on the list out here, spinning, could strengthen a little but stay out at sea. We have what's left of Paulette near the Azores. This could potentially come back and loop around. And we have Alpha having come ashore in Portugal, to say nothing of this tropical wave leaving Africa. We're still in the heart of hurricane season 2020 here in September. I'm Mike Naso with the latest. We'll be back with more updates, especially as Beta threatens the Gulf Coast. I'll talk to you guys later.